Testing, testing. Shaun's a how are we doing? All good in the hood.
Are you going to talk on me?
About that level?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Again?
Testing, testing. Make sure you like, subscribe to the channel. Get in!
There's one literally just there, he's just dropped on the bottom, right under my feet.
That's bad timing to have a wee.
So in this In Focus, I'm going to talk about the deeper...
If I go this side, it's probably better.
Yeah, probably it's better, yeah. Fishing in net!
But what a cracking little fish that is.
I wonder what you're doing, Hen. Hey! Right, we're back on the bank then. You join us for another open access day ticket venue series, and we are down at Digger Lakes for 48 hours. We haven't been here before, so we're really excited to have a look around and see what's on offer. It ties us in really nicely with the YouTube bloggers match, so all the other guys are here, and hopefully we're going to have a good session and have a few fish.
Yeah, we just had an absolute mega breakfast at Helen's Diner, so if you're coming down this way, make sure you stop in there. This year is going to be a bit of a watercraft draw, so we're going to have a little wander around with all the lads. Hopefully we'll find a few fish that they don't notice, and yeah, then we'll get on and do the draw, and most importantly, hopefully everyone's going to have a good social, good crack, and hopefully a couple of fish come out. So
yeah, let's hope we have a good draw, mate, and actually get a decent swim.
Yeah, come on.
But anyway, we'll update you as we go through the session, show you what's on offer on the venue, and yeah, hopefully we'll have a few fish. So we better go meet up with all the other guys in the car park, and hopefully we can have a few.
Get your Polaroids on.
Oosh! Who's going first?
There's not too many in there, is it?
Hopefully not. No, I think I'll put 9 in. Alright, possibly if you get 10, good luck. There's one Percy's.
Go on then.
So everyone's come first, come put your hand in my box. Keep your numbers secret. Make sure you're checking out the rules while we're here.
Balls.
The only additional rule is enjoy yourself. Long chuck.
Hopefully there's two there.
Oh yeah, he's pulling the winning peg now.
I think there is, yeah.
First choice.
Got the right number, well done you. So then, let's have a look, who's got what?
Oh!
Is that a 6 or 9?
That's a 6, number 9's got it underneath.
Okay. Lucky.
That's it, yeah.
I get no choice, 7, but I can change up to 1 if we need to.
Who's got number 1?
Number 1, Jackie boy.
I'll go for Tyre Island, 11.
Number 11,
That's a lucky number.
stick your thing on there then, just, you can even stick your initials, your channel name, whatever you want.
Who's 2?
Is that a dented one, yeah?
Which one? Yeah.
So it's just
Which one do you want?
you
the Tyler or
where do you
one?
want to go?
I can do Tyler's Bay is probably a better option, isn't it?
Tyler's Bay, you've probably got more water.
We're a bit out of the way,
Seen
but
anything in there,
yeah,
but,
I haven't seen nothing in there really, but
14.
It's up to you. Do that,
I
or...
don't know. Do you like it or not? Or do you prefer the other one?
So
Yeah.
it's tucked out of the way, that's it. Well, mate, I don't know.
We'll go Tyler's. Yeah.
So we'll go Tyler's Bay. How much for it?
This.
Tyler's Bay.
Tyler's.
Those two out. 11, 16, 17's out. That's 3. Just keep in mind we need to be dotted around, that's the only thing I'll say. So we push the fish around because otherwise they will just cage up. Where you going?
13.
13?
13.
Good choice.
You know why?
Seen 6
Because this
Lucky number?
Friday's the 13th.
Oh, meant to be.
Like the horror movies. Like
Yeah.
Go on then, who's next?
4.
Score.
Yeah, we got the best peg.
I reckon they're going to
fish now.
they're going to regret this because it's going to be next to the down. It's going to go 12. Yeah.
12.
I'm happy. I thought we had to get
12, big jump, no, big ski. Round the lake then, so Leon in 1, Going round, Maffin 5, Craig in 6, Carp King in 7, Nothing 8, 9, 10, Jack in 11, Joe.
You're 12, aren't you?
Yeah, you're 12, right?
Yeah.
We're on 2 rods.
Three. Sorry, yeah, 12, yeah.
Yeah.
When he said nothing, he didn't mean nothing for fishing.
Joe in 12, Dan in 13, Noah in 14, Ben 15, and us 16, 17. Happy lads?
Yeah.
Sorted?
No idea.
Let's go fishing.
Hey! I bet it ain't going to go for the gate, is it? I bet it won't go for the gate. Oh! Fuck yeah! Which one do you want? The only advantage we've got with here is we can walk all the way around and bait up and use the baiting pole to get really tight to some of these features. So it's the YouTube Bloggers Match 2021 and we are on Digger Lakes near Collumpton down in Devon, just into Devon. And we've never been here before, so it's a new venue for us, and we're going to be doing a open access day ticket venue series. So we're going to show you as much as we can about the lake, show you the tips and tactics that we use to try and put some fish on the bank, hopefully. Now we're in swim 16 and 17, which are in Tyler's Bay, which is a nice sort of bay off of the main body of water. Now we've seen possibly the odd fish or two in this zone, but definitely there's more fish in the main body of lake. But hopefully we're going to have a chance of catching a few. What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, it's one of those, I think we're in a bay. If the disturbance in the main body can help us out and push a few more fish in here, at the moment it doesn't look the greatest going into the first night, but it's a long weekend. We're here for a social with some good friends, and yeah, got to keep that in mind as well. Enjoy your fishing, haven't you? So fingers crossed we'll get it nice and accurate, nice and stealthy, and it will come into fruition tonight or in the early hours.
Let's hope so. That's all we can do, really. I mean, we've had a bit of a walk around this evening, chatted to all the guys just to see how everyone's got on. Obviously we did arrange it this year, or well, to be fair, Hugh arranged it pretty much. I did nothing, but we've organised it this year, so we went around, make sure everyone's happy, just to see how everyone's get on. Did a few little intros with them, just to get a bit of footage. And it's about 8 o'clock on the evening now. We haven't put a rod out yet, and I think we started at midday. So we're going to put our rods out now for the night, and let's hope we have a fish tonight, mate. So yeah, let's get the rods done and get fishing, because that's what we're here for. Right, so we're just round on the other side of the bank opposite the swims. We've been doing a little bit of casting around with a deeper, just to try and see if we can find any areas clear of weed, because it's very weedy. I've just flipped the deeper in this little hole, and it looks like it would be really clear, but actually there's quite a lot of low-level weed. It's going to be presentable, maybe with a solid bag, but I think with the baiting pole it's probably going to be a really good spot to be able to ship the pole over and just tip it over right in this little clearing amongst this this dense weed. And I think that's going to be a really good spot. Definitely an area fish are probably going to be looking at, and I'm looking for a bit of food hopefully, so I think that's probably one rod is going to go in there. After a busy afternoon, we finally prepped some rigs ready to go out with the baiting pole. Solid bags were the plan of attack, and we shipped all 6 rods out just as it got dark. We were happy the tactics were right and went into the first night confident of a bite. Ben in the next swim cooked us up a couple of burgers, and after a few beers we got into the bags early at the end of a long first day. I was up early the next morning. First coffee in hand, I stood at the front of the swim scanning the water for a sign. With no bites the first night, it wasn't a great start, but when you're committed to a swim on these socials, you can't catch what's not there. Right, it's a bit late to get in here, but a fish has just rolled around here in front of Hugh, which is a good sign. A fish also rolled off of this margin over here, so it looks like potentially there is a couple of fish in the bay, which is a bit more promising than yesterday because we didn't really see a lot. So we've been getting a few liners in the night, so it looks like there are a few fish knocking about. So yeah, happy days. Right, morning then. So unfortunately it was a quiet night for us. It took a little bit of time getting the rods out, as we did end up leaving it a little bit late after going around and chatting to people. But yeah, we positioned the rods quite accurately with a baiting pole, but it hasn't paid off. But you've just seen a fish, haven't you, mate?
Yeah, one's just shown out in front of me, so I ran one of the rods in, stuck a solid bag on and dropped it as close as I could. So yeah, a little bit more sort of confident now. We've seen something in the swim. We've seen one show last night late, and that was it for you know, the whole of yesterday. So yeah, feeling a little bit more confident now we've got something in front of us. So fingers crossed we can capitalise and pick up a bite and get off the mark, you know.
Right, Hugh's had a take on a solid bag on his left rod. He's got him in a load of something, probably deep in the weed, I think. There's a lot of weed in front of us. Oh, he's coming through, he's coming through.
Not feeling from there, mate, I won't lie. That look. Very much just up to the weed. Just up to the weed, isn't
You reckon it's come on?
Yeah, I reckon so.
Oh shit. That might have been it come over there. Yeah, he's come off, hasn't he? Oh shit. Where's that? Jason! Come on! Get in!
No way! No way!
Oh, get in, mate!
We ain't gonna win any prizes.
Hey!
Oh my days, I was convinced that'd come on. Oh, shaking. Oh, that's bad timing to have a wee, but it worked out right.
I was like, what's that noise? It's your rod ripping.
Yeah. I didn't know if you were winding me up.
We'll have some of that. Fish in the net. Happy days. We were literally just having a chat. He was like, I'm going for a wee, so I walked back to my swim. I was like, what's that noise? Hugh's left hand rod was ripping off. Oh, wicked, what a result. Yeah, got him weeded up. We thought it had come off, but it's obviously just covered in weed. And I saw his tail sticking out the back, so I bundled it into the net, and we've got our first fish. Awesome. A couple of fish showed as he was playing that, so we thought it'd possibly come off and bolted, but yeah, what a result. Happy days!
Oh, that felt horrible playing it.
Yeah, I mean that's some weed that's going for.
Yeah. Oh my days.
Mate, that recast paid off.
Yeah. Get in there, boy!
Yeah, nice.
Look at that.
Nails.
Yeah, good. Happy Happy days then. So after seeing a fish show this morning, reeled in, stuck a new PVA bag on and dropped it in the ringlets. And yeah, little PB yellow wafter. It's gone absolutely racing off, won't lie. As you've probably seen from the footage, we thought it dropped off. Luckily Shaun seen the tail sticking out the back of all the weed and did a grand job in netting it. So we're off the mark, happy days. Probably a mid-double, not going to bother weighing him. But what a cracking little fish that is. If the 30s look like that, that's what we want. Mega. Happy days.
Cool, mate.
Right then, so I've just slipped that fish back and I thought I'd just talk you through some of the tactics we've been opting with. So when we arrived yesterday, first thing we did was got the deeper out and flicked it around both our swims, and you know, it was straight away apparent, as you've probably heard already, extremely weedy. Some of it up to the surface, which you can visibly see, but then in between those patches, which do look clear, there's still, you know, a good low-lying weed, sort of 3 or 4 inches in places. And so as soon as I seen that, we both were like, right, solid bags is going to be the one. You know, best way of presenting a bait in that sort of situation. So I have been using 2 sides of solid bags. So got the ESP minis, which is my opted sort of preference really. Not only do they fly better, but also just one mouthful and the carp don't stand a chance. And then also I've got the corded medium size there. So that's what I have been opting for on a couple of rods, because they're in slightly more weedy water, and actually what that helps is just flatten down some of the strands of weed, just meaning your hook bait is presented a little bit better. So yeah, 2 different size of bags that you can use in different situations. Inside the bags then, so I've got some of the DNA mini cray mix, and in mixing a load of that is also some of the krill meal, just to take up all the little holes, and it just offers a little bit more attraction around the hook bait, and also if fish are wafting in, you know, send some attraction up into the water column, and they hopefully home in on it. So those what goes into the bag. Rig wise, so very simple. So I've got about 4 inches in length. So that's some of the Quarter Supernatural and 18 pound, which is absolutely mega for your solid bag rigs. Down to a small little kicker, size 4 Guardian gripper hook, which is barbed obviously for fishery rules. Small bit of string tubing on there just to trap the hair, and then yeah, that's a PB wafter, which is what did the bite. So yeah, real simple rig, doesn't need to be overcomplicated. Like I say, 4 inches in length, just enough rope for them to hang themselves. And yeah, that fish was absolutely nailed, was never coming off. So just something to note. So something me and Shaun, we talk about these things a lot when we're on a bank especially. And yeah, we haven't actually been dropping the lead off intentionally. It's obviously fished safely that if a fish got tethered or they had a line break, they could still ditch the lead. However, sometimes we feel when you're bringing fish back through weed, if you lose that lead, you don't always get such a good a hook hold. And yeah, like I said, that fish was actually nailed, brought it back for at least 2 or 3 weed beds, and yeah, it was never coming off. So just something to think about. There is, you know, a thought process that actually ditching the lead's not always going to, you know, up your fish to land ratio, and yeah, just something to think of maybe put into your own fishing. So hope that's all helpful. The last thing I'll say is just before sending it out into the lake, I've just been injecting a little bit of the DNA beta stim. That's what that dark liquid is in that pot, and yeah, it just offers a little bit more attraction, and once again adds some scent into the water column. So if you're fishing a similar situation, and to be fair, solid bags are probably overlooked, and you know, you can fish them in any situation at all. Brilliant way of presenting a hook bait, and yeah, that one little mouthful is all you need. So hopefully something that's been useful and you can put it into your own fishing.
After Hugh's morning bite, which came to a solid bag cast at a showing fish, this seemed a good tactic to try, as the baited spots had been quiet all through the night. We both watched the water looking for another opportunity, recasting solid bags to any sign of a fish in the hope of another quick bite. As the morning passed and no bites coming to our rods, I decided to have a walk around and see if I could locate any fish in the bay. Don't know if you can see that, but in front of me there's 1, 2, 3, 4 fish I think I can see. Just over the top of that that weed. Unfortunately you can't fish from this side, which is a shame, as they'd probably be quite easy to stalk out with a bit of bread or something like that, I reckon. Although apparently they are a bit finicky on the top. But yeah, there's definitely 4 there. It's basically 1. Ow! Just got stabbed in the neck with a branch. You might have seen him move then. There's 1 just down here. And then there's a couple just over the back here. Just sitting on top of that weed. Oh, there's 1 coming in over here actually. There's 1 cruising in here. He's just ghosting in. Well, it's not a bad fish that. There he is. He's just bumped into his mate. Not a bad fish that one. Oh, there's 1 down here. There's 1 literally just there. He's just dropped on the bottom, right under my feet. Oh, there's 1 behind him as well. Oh, there's quite a few. He's literally, oh, he's gone under the bank. That must be undercut down there. Yeah, they must be right up under that bank then. He's literally just gone right underneath down here and gone to the right around there. Yeah, there's obviously a few in there. It's a nice sign. A little bit further round to the right this is from where we are. This is in front of Ben, who's fishing over there, and I'm in the next one down. But it's nice to see that there's fish over here on this bank looking around, so you never know. It's almost a perfect little step to look out from. I don't know if you can see him out there. That's where I was, opposite. They're just knocking around out there. Yeah, nice to see there is a few fish in the zone. I've got no idea if I can get around here, but we're going to walk down and see where I end up. Comes out by the bridge. So this here is the cut through. So basically this is what goes from what is the main body of water through to the channel. So over there is the main body of the water. That's the main sort of area of the lake. And you've got a cut through. It obviously comes through here under the bridge out into the area we're in, which is like a bit of a bay off the main body of the lake. So, sorted. So as you know, on this session we've been talking a little bit about using the Deeper, and you've probably seen us using it a few times. So I thought I'd just take a bit of time to sit down and talk through what we think about the Deeper, how we've got on with it, and if we think it's somewhat good for you. So I've got a little bit of an in focus coming up where we're going to be doing a little bit of a mini review, a user review, just sort of telling you our findings with it, whether we think it's worth buying, and if it's going to be the one for you. So let's check this out. So in this in focus, I'm going to talk about the Deeper, and in particular the Deeper Chirp. Now, they're quite a controversial bit of kit. Some people like them, some people don't like them. Personally, I obviously like them. I use one in my fishing. I think nowadays, in this modern age, technology can really help us with fishing. You know, bite alarms were brought out, people didn't like them. Now they're a given within carp fishing. And there's a lot of other stuff along the way which gets used where technology is obviously given us it's advanced so much. It's given us different options to be able to sort of make our fishing that bit easier, maybe that more effective. And I think the Deeper is one of those products that does sort of give you a little bit of an edge and allows you to find spots without sort of crashing and banging a lead all around your swim. And after a couple of casts, you can get a good idea of what's in front of you, and you've not caused a huge amount of disturbance. Now, I use the Deeper Chirp, and here it is in its little neoprene bag. So it comes in a little neoprene bag, and it allows you just to be able to clip it onto stuff. Now, I clip it onto the side of my barrow. Just clip it onto one of the ring eyelets on the side of the barrow for like attaching your bungees to, and that way it's really easy to get hold of. When I rock up to the lake, if I decide I want to use it, I can easily just take it out, put it onto the spod rod and have a few casts around with it. Now, I don't always use it. It is something that I just keep in my armoury. I find it better on smaller lakes where they're a little bit more intimate, and you can really cover some water with one of these on a small lake, and you can almost sort of map a very large area of the water out and give yourself a huge amount of information about what's in front of you. On bigger lakes, I think they're not as effective. You get a lot of side winds, you get a lot of movement in the water where the Deeper is not always coming back perfectly straight, and although it gives you an indication of what's in front of you, I don't think it's as accurate as it is when you're fishing on smaller water. Now, I've been using them for a long time. I had a Pro Plus before this one, and then I've upgraded to the Deeper Chirp, and they've now got the Deeper Chirp 2 out, which is, I believe, got some upgraded tech in it. And personally, I found them to be really good. Now, the original one that I had, the Deeper Pro Plus, I had a few issues with that. I found it didn't retain the charge for very long, so when I was going out, a lot of the times I was going to use it and it had lost all its charge. I then pretty much didn't use it because I didn't want to mess around waiting to charge it up. I just got the lead out and started leading around. Also, the connectivity on it did cut out quite a bit, and the range was quite limited, I used to find, so it really was only good for sort of 50-60 yards. Anything past that, and it really did depend on the weather as to if you were going to get a good connection or not. And I did find when I was using it, it'd be out in the pond and it'd suddenly just cut out and lose connectivity. Now, when it did work, it was absolutely brilliant, but I used to find 50-50 it would work and not work, so it used to sort of drive me a bit mad, to be honest, and I didn't use it anywhere near as much as I would have. Now, since getting the Deeper Chirp, I find this is a whole lot better. This retains its charge, so far I've had this one for a fair few months. I've only had to charge it up twice, and that's just the second time was just to top it up because I wasn't too sure if it dropped a little bit of juice. Connectivity wise, I've had it drop out signal once or twice, but nothing too worrying. It's always reconnected once it has dropped out, where it's maybe lost a little bit of the GPS connectivity or something like that. But generally speaking, it's been absolutely perfect, and it does what it says it will do. I find it seems to be a lot more defined, and by that I mean on the imagery you're getting back, you seem to have a little bit more detail than on the previous model, and that really does help with trying to obviously identify particular spots. Now, I'm not going to go into how to use one and what to look for when looking at a Deeper, because if you want to look at that, then there's obviously reviews out there where people really go into depth on how these work. I'm just giving you my point of view about whether it's worth the money, if it is a good thing to have. So in my opinion, it is a great bit of kit. Now, on the session today, we're on a little lake called Digger Lakes, and we're in a bit of a bay, myself and Hugh, and so when we started off, we actually used this to quite good effect, and we cast it around several times in each swim, got a good idea of what was in front of us, realised it was quite weedy and there was a lot of low level lying weed, and so we decided straight away that we're going to use solid bags. That ended up paying off, as Hugh ended up having a fish after casting to one that had rolled, knowing that there was a bit of weed there. He put a solid bag on, and within a few hours we ended up having a fish on the bank. So it really did sort of pay dividends there, and I think probably gave us a bit of an edge in putting that fish on the bank. We've then used it to find other spots around the swims. Just walked around, gone on the far bank. We've even put it on the baiting pole and pushed the baiting pole out in between some of the trees just to check what's out in front of them, so that before we put some rigs and some bait there, we know that it's a spot we're fishing. Because although when you visually look at some of the marginal areas, they might look really good, you don't know what's underneath them. The water here is quite murky, so it's a great idea just to put it over the top with a baiting pole, just sort of draw it back a few times, have a look what's underneath, and then you've got an idea where you can present your baits. What we found is actually the the slope which drops down for the margin was actually not where we thought it was going to be. It was actually a lot closer to the bank than we thought. So it meant that we ended up, if we wanted to fish on top of the shelf, we needed to fish really tight to the bank. Whereas if you went further out, where people would probably normally cast to when fishing to like an overhanging tree or something like that, you'd have actually been sort of halfway down the shelf. So we wouldn't have known that unless potentially we used a marker float and thrashed around in the swim a little bit. But by using a deeper, it just meant that we could obviously find that really quickly and know where to present our baits. But it's a great little bit of kit. I really do recommend it if you can afford to get one. It's definitely like a luxury sort of item, so you don't necessarily need one, but if you can afford to have one in your kit, then it's definitely a little good bit of product to have, and it definitely is a bit of an edge against people who possibly haven't got one. I've used it on some gravel pits where people don't think they've got very many features in them, or there's a known feature that people tend to always target, and then I've cast one of these around and realised that the whole swim is full of features, and so it's meant I've been able to fish on a completely different area which people normally wouldn't target, and actually pick fish off that way as well. So it is a great little bit of kit. I really recommend it, so check it out and give it a go for yourself. After seeing a few more fish in the bay on my walk around, I was more confident I could catch one. I decided to put some bait on 2 spots, hoping this would stop the fish as they were cruising around, bringing them down onto the hook baits, giving me a better chance of a bite. We had the social this afternoon, so once again prepped the rigs ready for our return so we could get them out quickly before it got dark. The tactic again would be solid bags. We've got so much confidence in this as a tactic, especially when fishing areas that are weedy. It just protects everything and keeps that hook bait ready to hook a carp. I injected my bags with some of the DNA bug food liquid. This would soak into the pellets and slowly leak off, keeping the hook baits active and more appealing to the carp, giving me a much better chance of getting that bite. We all gathered in the car park under the shade and had a few hours downtime. Everyone was in high spirits and it was good to have a catch up.
We'll have to join up earlier. You know the island that's between me and you? Yeah. Like you can only get so far. The game was we couldn't get a ticket, we had to go over there, put the belt and leave it there. Yeah. And then fly off. But I just don't get shit. Which is a long time. I reckon literally like fucking line. Probably 7 That's what they do, like fucking go out and like fucking shoot rhinos and shit.
So yes, we could have had tight with that.
But they're not dead rigs because they're trying to get it back.
And we both stood there just going.
Are we doing the hole? Yeah. No one's going for a shit now, are they?
No, nobody.
In my head I had 2 options, come flying out of it.
Right, evening then. So the social is well and truly done. Everyone's gone back to their swims. Temperature's dropped a bit now, so I've put a hoodie on just to try and keep a bit of the coolness off. But I'm actually fishing. I've just nipped back to the van quick because I put one of the cameras in the back of the van at the social so I didn't lose it, and I left it in the back of the van. So I've decided, well, I'm getting it, I'll just do a bit of an update because we've completely forgotten to do an update this evening, and yeah, I thought I'd let you know what's happening. So we've put the rods out, we're only fishing 2 each to try and keep the lines down a little bit and not have too many lines going out in the swim. There's been a few fish in the area. During the social I did have a little walk around and top the spot up because I'd seen a few fish over there, and there was a fish coming up off of the spot covered in like clay and silt. It looked like it had been feeding, so I'm very confident that there's fish going to be out there visiting that spot tonight. But it's been a tricky session. I feel that the fish have been visiting the spots, it's just not happened. Obviously Hugh had that fish on the solid bag cast at showing fish, which is a bit of an opportunist bite, so well, it's nice to get a bite, but it's strange that the spots haven't produced anything. Ben's not had anything either, who's obviously down to the left on the island, and yeah, it's really weird. There's fish in here but they're just not having it, but fingers crossed something happen tonight. We've got to be packed up pretty decent time tomorrow to go and do the presentation, so I doubt I'll film much tomorrow, but hopefully we'll give you an update in the morning just to let you know what's going on. But I'm going to get back to the swim anyway because Hugh's watching rods. It's only like 2 seconds behind, to be fair. It's not a long way to go, or even hear the alarm going from where I respect, but I better get back, and I'm going to get my head down for a few hours, get some sleep, be up in the morning. Hopefully we'll have something, but yeah, let's see what happens.
Right then, well, good morning. Unfortunately, a very quiet night once again for me and Shaun. I think I had 1 liner, so even less than the night before. So yeah, a bit of a shame, but there was only 1 or 2 fish that we seen in there yesterday, and although that got us more excited than the first night, still not the numbers that they have been around the rest of the lake. And you know, there's been 2 more fish out last night. One to a lad who's already had a couple and has consistently caught each morning, and then Mr. Carp King's also had one out of sort of just round the corner from where Jack was, so they both come from similar areas. So we've got about 4 hours until we've got to pack up and be off the lake, so there's still chance, and if we sort of keep our eyes on the water while we're packing away, there's a good chance we might see an opportunity and maybe we can drop one on its nose like we did yesterday when I had that fish. So it's not all done and dusted yet, but yeah, we're up against it. But fingers crossed, going to enjoy this first brew of the day, and yeah, like I say, watch the water for a bit and start to slow pack down. Right then, so we've come to the end of our 2021 YouTube Bloggers Social down at Diggers Lake. I hope you've all enjoyed it, lads. Yeah. We've had a few fish out. It has been tricky, which I think we all knew coming to it, but yeah, at least we've had a few fish for the blogs. So last year's winners was Dan and Will. We've obviously got a trophy quite proudly in front of them now. And yeah, this year's winner is probably Top Rod as well. So probably for the first year that I remember, the person that's caught the most has also caught the biggest. So well done, mate. And what was it, 23.4? 23.4, yeah. Top work, Jack. Really good angling. So Will, do you want to do the honours?
Yeah, well
done, mate. Yeah. Anything to say?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone, obviously, for being so welcoming. Obviously, last year was my first one, so thank you all for inviting me along, and yeah, thank you for Shaun Hugh for organising it, and here's to many more.
Yeah, cool. Happy days. Well, no idea where we'll be going next year, but we'll work out that in the next few weeks. But yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for taking your litter in. And
I'm never going to live that down.
Until next year, get out on the bank and be lucky. Hey! Let's go home. Just home. Everyone stop. Hi. See you, lads. Yeah. Cheers. Hey, cheers, Joe. Cheers. Joe. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
His boots going on. Oh, Joe, just what it say, Joe. Say something. Yeah, I want to say bye.
It's still a scolder.
Yeah.
Right then, that's the end of the YouTube Blogs match. Everyone's going home now. Everyone's leaving the car park, and it's been a good session. Unfortunately, I blanked. Hugh managed one. He's waving by. Hopefully you liked the video. Anything to say?
No, like always, like we said earlier on, make sure you enjoy your fishing and make the most of being out on the bank.
Well, if you liked the video, then please subscribe to the channel. Check out the social media shown below. And until next time, get out there and be lucky. And we'll see you
On the next one.
I do.